TIAA is on a mission. Why? Because 54% of Black Americans don't have enough savings to retire. So in collaboration with big-name artists like Wyclef Jean, TIAA released Paper Right, new music inspiring a new financial future. With 100% of streaming sales going to a nonprofit that teaches students how to invest. Stream Paper Right now and help close the gap.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Before My Time with Gelsey Laurie. That's me, your host, and today we are joined, as always, with our friend, producer, and co-host Matt Kelly to talk about Alice Cooper.
I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna feel you belong.
We're here to entertain you. We'll sing your songs for good times, the best times. You can't go wrong. We'll two-step, a new step. It won't be long when the Dixielanders are playing. Soon you'll be swaying, so come on, sing along.
Well, you know what, Gelsey? No more Mr. Nice Guy Matt Kelly over here. It's time to get mean. School's out, baby. We're actually recording this episode just in time for the 50-year anniversary of Billion Dollar Baby, which was not the first Alice Cooper record, but his biggest record. That's the one that had No More Mr. Nice Guy on it. It was his biggest single. But you and I are just two shock rock loving Alice Cooper fans, and talk about, like, this is a guy who both is all over the Dazed and Confused soundtrack, which, stay tuned, we will definitely do an episode just about the music from Dazed and Confused one of these days.
Definitely need to do that. Oh
but
my god,
that movie's 1976, 70, something like that. He's all over 70s music, but then flash forward to, like, shit that I love. 1986, he's still writing the theme song for a Friday the 13th movie. 1992, he's appearing in Wayne's World. Like, this is a dude who really, like, kept going, kept doing his thing, kept himself in the public eye, and to bury the lead a little bit, from all accounts, one of the sweetest men you could ever meet.
yeah, he's like, I already loved him so much. He disc jockeys a radio show at night. I think it's like Sunday nights, and it's Nights with Alice Cooper. And when I lived in Vegas, I would listen to it every Sunday when I was driving home from my show, and I was like, it's Nights with Alice Cooper. And so I listened to it religiously, and you feel like you're hanging out with the guy, and you're just like, God, what a great, nice guy. Like, I really would love to just be his friend.
He's one of those people, I always talk about, like, musicians who I would love to just sit and talk to. And I would say a contemporary of his, a modern contemporary of his, would be like Rob Zombie falls in that same category, where I'm like, I think that conversationally, you know, some of their music I love, some of their music is not the best.
Yeah, no.
Like, there's some bad Alice Cooper songs. Like, I want to make it clear, the sequel, Welcome to My Nightmare, with the number 2, has him rapping on a song that is, like, not great.
Don't do
but
that. But
I think you could just sit and not even talk about his music. Like, I would just love to hear Alice Cooper's view on everybody's music, because he just seems like that guy who would love that conversation.
Yeah, which is why, I mean, he's such a great DJ on the show I was listening to, because you really do go, God, he's like such I think, most musicians are high in music appreciation, duh, but his appreciation and knowledge for rock was so engrossing and endearing, and he really does. Like, he would just be a great guy to sit around and have a coffee with because he's sober now.
In Philly, I know my brother would stay up on Sunday. I guess Sunday nights was the night that random radio stations would give rock stars like a block hour, but we used to have a D. Snyder 2-hour DJ thing every Sunday, and he was another one where it's like the knowledge of music within that guy's brain and just how fascinating of a person he is.
D. Snyder was on a season of Celebrity Apprentice. I still love that show before Trump became
everything
Trump.
else.
So you kind of discussed, Alice Cooper's biggest hit, this, that. I just want to clarify that before Alice Cooper was solo Alice Cooper, it was actually a band. So Alice Cooper was born Vincent Fournier February 4th, 1948 in Detroit, Michigan. He had a lot of medical problems as a kid. He had frequent bouts of asthma, so he was recommended, or I guess the family was recommended, to move to warmer climates. So I believe they did go to LA for a bit, but they ended up landing in Phoenix, Arizona. In his high school yearbook, he said his ambition was to be a million record seller, which I thought was kind of fun. I love seeing people's high school yearbooks say stuff that then they did it.
They made it happen.
Little side note, I'm throwing my yearbooks away today because I huge closet clear out, huge life clear out. And I read all of my yearbooks before I didn't. I took photos of everything everyone wrote, so I'll have that, but I just don't need 800 pages of stuff I don't care about. Rant over, but someone wrote, "You and your circus dreams, haha, I hope they come true," because I didn't do any circus at that point. And I read it and I was like, holy shit, I forgot that I had that aspiration when I was 16, and they did come true. So I had that moment with myself and it was nice. But so he's at high school, and the Beatles go on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, and this is really when his music career starts and that he takes an interest into music. He said that the Beatles were the ultimate catalyst for me to try my own hand in music. So he starts a almost like parody band with some friends that were on cross country with him called the Earwigs. And they all wore Beatles wigs, and they parodied Beatles songs and changed the lyrics. One is about having to run more laps for your coach, and one, just being high school stupid kids. But they kind of started to get some high school stardom and, did some big things. So they decided to actually, a few of them faked their instruments. So they start learning how to play instruments and actually doing their own music, and they changed their name to the Spiders. They start playing more high school dances and small local clubs. And they got to a good point where they were a little local band of stardom. So they had a regional hit called Don't Blow Your Mind. If you look at their pictures then, though, they look like such a late 60s every other band. Nothing of what we know of Alice Cooper today, which is, I do like seeing the kind of progression of people's image and vibe and everything.
But even credit where credit's due, though, even the name the Spiders, there's darker. A little bit of horror. It's a
Obviously,
little bit of horror there.
The Beatles, they probably did it off of, they're a bug, let's be a bug. But Spiders are a little creepier, and
they're a little bit creepier. I mean, he did have songs like Black Widow. There is an element of all right, there's still a dash of that shock rock, horror influence in there.
Which, those of you who might not know what shock rock is, which Alice Cooper is considered the godfather of shock rock, it's a combo of heavy metal and rock with highly theatrical live performance emphasizing in shock value. So he literally is and like you said, Rob Zombie, they would be Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn Manson's a big
huge.
one.
Yeah. I love it because it's such a theatrics, and I'm a showgirl, I'm an entertainer, so it's give me some big props, costumes, and the drama, and I'm so in for it. And it's
there's almost a vaudeville aspect to his live shows.
Yes, totally. And it's they take on these personas if that's who they are in real life, but I kind of deep in their eyes, you can tell that it's an act. I don't know, maybe it's just one performer to the next, but
that's what makes that Wayne's World scene so brilliant,
yes,
right?
Actually,
you see him on stage you see him on stage doing "Feed My Frankenstein," and then you get what is, at its core, probably what he's really like, which is this intellectual, smart dude.
Yeah, really down to earth, and he's supposed to be, and we'll get into his relationship with his wife and all that. But so anyways, after their regional hit, the band decides to take their shot and move to LA. They struggle like every other artist there, but eventually get booked as the house band at the Cheetah Club, and they do cross paths with the Doors, Janis Joplin. But before everyone's made it big, it's kind of a cool place, and what a cool time to be there. They do change their name to the Nas, but musician Todd Rundgren was already using that. So they then went into a brainstorming session of what should we name our band. And they come up with Alice Cooper as the band name. Now Alice Cooper says, the first name out of my mouth was a girl's name, Alice Cooper. By the end of the night, it kind of stuck. I conjured up an image of a little girl with a lollipop in one hand and a butcher knife in the other. And I love that kind of
I love that.
deep, eerie,
Wow. I didn't even think about how much that has to go back to the people that we're talking about, but that totally fits the format of, I mean, maybe not exactly Rob Zombie, but like, I'm not sure how much you know about Marilyn Manson, the band, but each one of the members, the naming concept is famous pinup model, first name, serial killer, second name.
I actually did not fucking know that.
Yeah, so like it's Marilyn Manson for like Charles Manson
Right.
and Marilyn Monroe, Twiggy Ramorez, Madonna Wayne Gacy, Ginger Fish, like those were like all of the band member names.
That's cool. I mean, it's creepy and a little fucked up and sadistic, but it's cool. I like it.
But I never even thought about that connection. Like, oh yeah, Alice Cooper, like fits that same sort of formatting of like
it's a
female
girl's
name with a last name that feels kind of sinister.
There was
in
a
a
myth
weird
going
way.
around. There was a myth going around for a while that like Alice Cooper was the name of a 13th century witch that got burned at the stake, and that she came through a Ouija board to the band one night and told them, but they were like, "Nah,
I love
that's
that
not
shit.
what
Yeah.
happened." Like, it's,
I would have leaned into that until I was 60 at least, until I was 64.
I'd
I'd
be
be like, nope,
absolutely.
witch came out of the Ouija board.
Absolutely. Which I just want to give a side note right now. I'm scratching my head. I'm rocking like crazy Alice Cooper hair right now, and I don't know. If
You
that's
really
a good
are.
thing.
You got some great Alice Cooper hair.
I don't think it's a good thing, but it's fine. But they were influenced. Their look was influenced by whatever happens to Baby Jane. He really liked Betty Davis's kind of caked over foundation and the dark makeup kind of dragging under her eyes, and I was like, oh shit, yeah. And they also were really inspired by Jane Fonda's Barbarella.
Love
Yeah. So that's kind of where their image comes from, or those are their main inspiration. Frank Zappa signs the band, and then they take on manager Shep Gordon, who stays with Cooper his whole career, I believe.
There's a full documentary about Shep as well.
Oh, yeah?
Called, I want to say it was called Supermensch. And I'm pretty sure it was actually produced by Mike Myers. But it,
Yeah,
I remember watching.
Supermensch, The Legend of Shep Gordon. Yep.
Yeah. It's a fascinating documentary about how he just like really, when he decided he was going to back a client, he really was a loyal manager to like all these people, and
Wow.
Alice Cooper's predominantly in it. It's a great documentary.
He represented, just to name a few, Blondie, Luther Vandross, Ben Vereen, Frankie Valli, Gypsy Kings, Groucho Marx, Kenny Loggins,
and Pink Floyd too.
Pink Floyd, the Pointer Sisters, Rick James. To name
and
a few.
he kind of stuck with, I think it was like, not only did he like manage a lot of these people, but most of them almost never walked away from his management because he was so, I think the whole point of the documentary is it's very rare in LA to find a manager that actually cares about his clients
and
on the
listen to
level that
this.
Shemp did.
This is awesome. In 1993, Gordon created Alive Culinary Resources, the first talent agency to represent chefs. And he took on, Wolfgang Puck, Celeste Drago. Actually, a lot of these are big New Orleans chefs, but
He took Emerald. It's the
took
BAM
Emerald.
guy.
yeah. Emerald Lagasse. God, I'm hungry. Okay.
Sorry. We'll stop talking about food.
I know. I was like, damn, I'm like salivating. Okay, so he takes on the band. So their first two albums failed. And then they go to their third album in 1971, Love It to Death, becomes a hit. It peaks at number 35. They follow that up with the album Killer. That goes to number 21. And then in 1972, they come out with School's Out, which to that point was their most successful album. The title track, School's Out, which you all know, School's School's out for summer.
Well, and it is worth calling out because we did mention Love It to Death. The big single that came off of that was I'm 18, which was
yes.
their
That
first,
one was huge.
Their first song on the charts.
Yeah.
And what a fucking great song.
Yeah. There's an interview when he's quoting and it's just like a little clip and he goes, I love making parents mad. And he's just such a like fucking rock and roller.
Those are the best, dude.
Just trying to piss
again,
off
it's like
adults.
the people who piss off adults as their career. It's like him, John Waters. Like there are these people that then you like see them in interviews and they are so nice and
They're almost just giggling
and,
about it. They're like, it's just a game at this point. I just want to see if I can
it's
do
just
it.
like I think to a certain extent they're like, it's just so easy.
I know. God, it really is. It's so fun. I think that's why I keep taking my clothes off on stage or something. I don't know.
Banger of a song, like
Yeah, so good.
the
And they're
anthem
really
of the last day of school for the rest of eternity. Like,
slowly as they're coming out with these albums though too, they're coming into this more dark theatrical. It's not fully what we think of today, but it's kind of fun to watch the progression and you can see them push it and push it and push it good. So that brings us to our 50-year anniversary, 1973, $1 Billion Babies. This at this point is their best achievement. And the best achievement, and the show is the biggest spectacle. So they now create and produce their tour, and this show has snakes, blood-filled baby dolls, and just kind of these over-the-top things. And there was
is he decapitating himself yet?
There was a nightly execution of Alice with the guillotine. So they would kill Alice every night, which I don't. At this point, he's not legally changed his name, but after that show, they were exhausted from touring. It was huge, did great. No More Mr. Nice Guy is the big hit on that, which what a great song.
Yeah.
They come out with the album Muscle of Love, and they kind of wanted to go back to basics and back to just the raw rock and roll and kind of take away this spectacle. Didn't do so well. It's not what the people want.
Yeah,
they want you chopping off your head and they want
that.
bleeding baby dolls. Like you gave them that, you can't go back from it. So I
was gonna say it's kind of. After $1 Billion Babies, it's kind of the end of Alice Cooper, the band.
It is.
And they don't become prominent again until the solo years.
Well, that's Alice Cooper, the band, takes what they thought was a temporary hiatus and it becomes permanent. So that's the end of the band. That's when then Alice Cooper does legally change his name so that there's no problems with the band or this, that. And he now becomes Alice Cooper, the solo career.
And what a first album for this solo
1975, Welcome to My Nightmare. And what a great, he got to further develop his rock and roll villain persona on his own. It's not like the band was holding him back, but he really explores this. And the music video is really fun. It's really cheesy. He's just kind of standing on a bed and all these dancers. It's like, I like how much he really focuses on, like, you could tell he appreciates a good dancer. And as they're jumping, it kind of freezes, but they're dressed in these, a snake and a bat. And it's so cheesy. It's so cheesy, but Vincent Price has a cameo in it. And so, he's the father of darkness and he's in it. It's a great song though. I love it.
It's a great song. It's got that, like, I think about this a lot because I can't separate the song from what I think is one of the best performances ever on The Muppet Show when he performs Welcome to My Nightmare on The Muppet Show. But also, like, when I'm doing horror conventions, I try to bring like a nice eclectic soundtrack of music to play at our table. And Welcome to My Nightmare is always on that soundtrack. And that is just one of those songs where, to get like a little music nerdy for a second, the way that song builds. Like, and it's not like it builds into a rock and roll song at all. It's like, it's just this, it starts off with like a bass line and it's kind of slow. And then like, it's epic in scale. Like the horns kick in and like the last like minute is awesome.
I'm always creating, I'm like really not, I've performed in burlesque clubs, but I'm not a burlesque dancer or performer. But it's like this part of me that I'm like, one day I just want to do one show. And I was listening to it and I was like, this would be such an epic.
That's the burlesque song. That's the fucking
burlesque.
one.
And by the end,
dude, like a Halloween burlesque show with you doing Welcome to My Nightmare.
I know. I kind of
want to do the Elvira thing where you've got the spider webs that like have the tassels.
That'd be cool. But I always I like the ones where it's just kind of like fucking with the audience, or and if you really either have one person and you're just making them miserable and embarrassed, it's not like it could be this dark sadistic. And I was like, and the way it builds with teasing someone and taking off clothes. I was like, oh, this is great. That'll continue to just live in my bathroom mirror for now. But
and God, like that really, that song is, I think, when people are making their lists of the like 100 greatest songs in American history, I think that we don't give enough credit to how good of a song Welcome to My Nightmare is. Like, that song should be in the greatest songs in American history conversation. It is an awesome song.
I wonder if it is in any kind of like...
I know I did see that it was placed at number 10 on AOL Radio's 10 best Halloween songs.
AOL? Like American Online?
Yep. But yeah, I mean, the song mixes elements of disco, jazz, hard rock while still being funky.
Yeah, great.
I mean, that sums it up right there.
This also is where he takes, his, not only, like I was saying, he goes into like his own persona and building it, but he took a huge risk with the tour of this show, because he was already doing, when they did $1 Billion Babies, they went, theatrical, and the shock rock is already coming out, but he amped it up and took a huge financial risk, a huge just everything risk with this tour. I mean, he had dancers, costumes, giant props, a cyclops, illusion. He had a big interactive movie screen. It was even more than the $1 Billion Baby, and it paid off. It did really well. It was highly successful, and people loved it. I mean, I've seen video clips of it, and I was like, I want to see that. This is incredible. Like, it's such it's a whole story. It's a whole, and I love that. And it's, you have
to think in 1976, like 1975, 1976, you're getting big performances. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting bands like Boston and Chicago and even Meatloaf. Like, you're getting these people who are performers for sure, and they're talented and they have all these hits. But man, talk about someone who seems to be like really giving you like it's like a dinner and a movie. You know what I mean? Like,
it's true. It's like, and that's why it did so well. And it's fun. Speaking of dancers, one of the dancers in his 1975 tour was Cheryl Goddard, and that became his wife. So he met his wife on that tour, and they are still married to this day. She toured with him until 82. They got married March 20th, 1976. She did file for a divorce in 1983, but reconciled. And that is because he had an alcohol problem, which we'll dive in slowly. He was a functional alcoholic for most of his career. There's an interview when he's really young, and the interviewer asks, like, do you have to be drunk to be Alice? And he goes, yeah, you have to be drunk to put up with Alice. And later he says, I denied it for an awful long time. I wasn't a cruel drunk. I wasn't a stupid drunk. I was just a drinker. And even his wife does say in an interview too, where she goes, I think if he was falling down or hitting me, we would have dealt with this a lot sooner. It's kind of like they just didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And I've met people like that. I've known people like that just, they're not a problem, but you're like, oh shit, it's kind of a problem. And it did, by 1977, the drinking was highly affecting his performance, but highly affecting his health was the number one thing. So he did get checked in somewhere. He got sober, and then, like all good people do, relapsed. He doesn't remember much of his 80s recordings because he said he was just in this continuous alcohol fog. And then 1983, he checks into a hospital. He got sober, recovered. He walked out saying it was weird. Like, I don't even remember being an alcoholic, and I knew I would never be one again. And that's when 83, is when his wife filed for divorce, but that's when he got clean, got sober, and walks out, and then it was good since. But he did say, coming back from that and being Alice, and the thought of going back on stage and performing sober was a very scary thing for him. Can I do it? And I think we've talked about it before, with Aerosmith, it came up that, it's some of these musicians, it's like they heavily rely on the drugs and alcohol, and they kind of can't do it without it, and their music isn't as good. But the ones that are deep down true musicians or artists or performers, they really can, and they do. And he does. He comes back 1986 with his 9th solo album, Constrictor, and it's his first tour in years. And he follows it up with some big, 1989, he comes out with Trash, which has one of my favorite songs, Poison.
Which is, I believe, his highest charting song ever.
I love that song so much.
It peaked at number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. It's the highest charting song he's ever had.
That music video, too, is so good. Like, I just want to be a woman in an Alice Cooper music video so bad. Like, my goals are not that high.
It's achievable.
Like,
and also, I made a slight reference to it, but yeah, in 1986, he puts out Constrictor, which has He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask, which is also the theme for Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Part 6. It's a song about Jason Voorhees. So he's doing his thing.
He's doing his thing, and he comes out with just album after album. 1991, he drops "Hey Stupid," which has "Feed My Frankenstein," and then of course they show a part of his tour in the Wayne's World movie, and that's how I was introduced to him as a kid. I always knew Alice Cooper from Wayne's World, and that was forever my favorite Alice Cooper song, because that was the first one I ever knew. And I still do love it so much. I could sing every word.
It's got some pretty dumb lyrics when you look at it, but it is a great song.
I know. It's a great song. I just can't not love it. Of course, I think Poison might be my number one. I don't know what it is. I love that song so much, and I love the lyrics. I love the angst. And then it would be, Welcome to My Nightmare, and probably School's Out, and then Feed My Frankenstein. Those are going to be my top 4, but...
I will tell you my number one favorite Alice Cooper song after the commercial break.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Gelsey, before we wrap up this Alice Cooper episode, I promised you that I would tell you my favorite Alice Cooper song, and it is, you are going to laugh, you're going to call me an idiot, because once again, is Matt Kelly picking the ballad by an otherwise rock and roll guy? You better believe he is. I remember buying the Muppet Show DVDs.
Of course.
And
it starts.
Of course it starts here. And there's a ballad that he performs in there, which was his second highest. For a while, it was his highest charting single until Poison, which was his ballad, You and Me, from the album Lace and Whiskey. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this song. So Lace and Whiskey was a concept album he did. The entire album is that he's like a detective in a film noir movie.
Oh, up my alley.
Yeah, and You and Me is like the love ballad between him and the femme fatale, but it's like...
You and me ain't no movie star. What we are is what we are. We share a bed, loving, and TV, yeah. That's enough for a working man. But what I am is what I am. And I'll tell you, babe.
It is an absolutely beautiful song. I have played it for my parents, and I've been like, do you know who this is? And they're like, oh, I remember this song. Who is this? And I'm like, Alice Cooper. And they go, no.
He has a very sensitive...
And this is the album right after Welcome to My Nightmare. It's such a weird, like, right off of that to do, like, a love ballad. But I remember the second I heard it, in that episode of the Muppets, I was like, I fucking love this song.
All right, it's prepped for me to listen to it when it's pulled up. I do want to mention real quick how much of a golfer he is. He actually wrote a book called Golf Monster, which a lot of these quotes come from, but he started golfing in 1973, and then in 1983 is when he really got dedicated to the game, which it's no coincidence it coincides with him getting sober. It really helped in his recovery from alcoholism. He even said in 2007, he said, every guy I know from Lou Reed to Bob Dylan to Neil Young, they all play golf. It's because they were all drug users or alcoholics, and I think golf is so addictive that it's just like taking drugs. And he kind of was like, I gave up one unhealthy addiction for the next. But then his wife is in an interview going, this is a great addiction. It's much better. So he golfs, I think it said 36 holes every day. Which
that's insane. That's good for him.
I'm just not a golfer. But yeah, and so it's really cute. You see, he's getting older. He's still got his long black hair. And then he's just in a old white dude golf outfit. His polo is this. And it just, that's where you're like, oh, he seems like a real nice go. But and then in 2010, the band got inducted to the Hall of Fame. Way overdue, way late. It was one of those bands that everyone's like, seriously, it took this long? And then in 2015, he joined the group the Hollywood Vampires with Johnny Depp and Joe Perry.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of funsies. And they have special guests. Like I think Paul McCartney performed with them one time, and they do stuff sometimes. And then he also has oh dear Lord, I didn't write this down. Why did I not do this? He opened a music school for like kids, underprivileged kids or problem kids or something really cool. He's a great guy.
But he's out there doing good stuff.
He's out there doing good stuff.
He's a legitimate good guy.
Yeah. And I think even the Hollywood Vampires, their proceeds go to something good.
Nice. Before we wrap up, I also want to go back to Shep Gordon real quick because I did catch
Damn it, I'm hungry.
He put out a book in September of 2016 that I kind of want to read called They Call Me Supermensch, The Backstage Pass to the Amazing World of Film, Food, and Rock and Roll. So
that would be good.
Everybody, if you want us to one day do an episode about Shep Gordon and all of the cool things he's achieved, where can they let us know about that, Gelsey?
They can let me know in my nightmare. No, you can let us know on Instagram. You can find us at BeforeMyTime_podcast or on Facebook. Just search Before My Time. We will come up right on our wall, DM them, say hi, say ho. Let us know if you'd like an episode on that. Let us know what your favorite Alice Cooper song is, or if you have an idea for another episode that you're like, I can't believe you haven't talked about blank. Let me know, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. Let's see. Also, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a 5-star review, only if you enjoyed yourself while listening to this, it would be greatly appreciated. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in every week and listening, and can't wait to bring you more random facts about random things that happened before my time. Ciao.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.